Caught his maid secretly using his computer, the CEO was angry. But the lines of code left him froze. The CEO of Crimson Corp was a workaholic. Not only did he have high expectations of himself, but also of his employees. In fact, he demanded that his employees put in at least 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. He believed that there were no excuses for laziness or low productivity. The higher-ups followed this rule strictly, but the common folk could slack off without repercussion. As a result, some employees despised the CEO. They labeled him the Robot King because he never took time off to rest. In fact, even when it was his birthday, he worked overtime. On one such occasion, his maid decided to take matters into her own hands. Let me introduce you to Ms. Agnes, the CEO's maid. She was an African-American woman in her early 40s who had been working for the CEO for over 10 years. Throughout their time together, she had developed a deep affection for him, although he treated her like garbage most of the time. One would think that after 10 years she would have quit, but she couldn't bear the thought of leaving him. Besides, they lived in a remote part of the city where most people didn't know about tech, and all she knew was domestic work. So she feared that if she were to leave, she might end up on the streets. Her family was huge, and her monthly salary could feed at least 10 people, so it wasn't just her that depended on her job. Luckily, she had a good heart, and despite being treated poorly, she didn't harbor any ill will against her boss. In fact, she loved him dearly, which is why she decided to do something crazy. One night, while doing her rounds, she heard the CEO working late in his office. It wasn't unusual, so she didn't pay much attention. However, as the clock struck midnight and still she heard him typing, she couldn't help but wonder what he was doing. Curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to sneak a peek. To her horror, she found him hunched over his table fast asleep. Concerned for his health, she woke him up gently, but he slapped her before even realizing what happened. "I'm sorry, Mr. Williams," Agnes said timidly, "but it's late. You should get some rest." He stared at her for a moment, then looked away. "Go home, Agnes. You're dismissed for today," he said gruffly. Although she was relieved that he wasn't angry with her anymore, she couldn't help but feel a pang of disappointment. All these years she had wished for nothing more than for him to acknowledge her existence, but he had never done that. That night she lay awake thinking about everything that had happened. As the night wore on, she started planning her next move. She realized that the only way she could make him notice her was by doing something drastic. So the following evening, when he fell asleep at work, she did something crazy. She wrote a few lines of code and locked his computer. Thinking he wouldn't notice until morning, she went home feeling satisfied. But she hadn't bargained for how furious he would be. The next morning, he woke up early, got ready, and went straight to his office. He was shocked to find that his computer was locked and a message flashed across the screen reading, "You've been hacked." He tried to unlock it, but couldn't. Panicked, he called his IT guy, but he was out of town. With minutes ticking by, his anxiety grew. He didn't know what to do. Then suddenly he remembered his maid. Could she have done this? Was this some kind of joke? He rushed out of his office and asked her, "Did you hack into my computer?" Startled, she dropped the files she was carrying and exclaimed, "What? No, Mr. Williams. Why would you think that?" He stared at her for a moment, then let out a bitter laugh. "Don't play dumb with me, Agnes. Do you think I'm that stupid? Who else could have done this?" Tears welled up in her eyes. She tried to explain, but he cut her off. "Get out." "I don't ever want to see your face again," he shouted. She nodded obediently and left. Once she was gone, he returned to his office, fuming with rage. How dare she lock his computer? He was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, and he couldn't afford to waste time. He tried calling someone else, but it was no use. The computer was encrypted and no one could open it. Hours passed, then days, and still there was no solution. Meanwhile, Agnes couldn't sleep. She missed her job, and more importantly, she missed her boss. She knew he was upset with her, but she didn't mean to hurt him. She had only wanted to make him realize that he needed to take care of himself. After all, he was the only family she had. Seeing how distraught she was, her granddaughter Mary convinced her to go to the CEO's house and apologize. Although Agnes was hesitant, she knew that Mary was right. She had to tell him the truth. So one afternoon, she knocked on his door, and when he opened it, she blurted out, "I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. I didn't mean to hurt you." He stared at her for a moment, then stepped aside. "Come in," he said. She entered and sat down on the couch. "Why did you do it, Agnes?" he asked, his voice tight. "I was only trying to help you, sir. You worked too hard, and I was worried about you. I didn't mean to lock your computer. I'm really sorry." He looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "Do you know how much damage you've caused, Agnes? My entire company's data was saved on that computer, and now it's all gone." "I can't believe I trusted you," he said, his voice shaking with anger. She bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, but please believe me when I say that I didn't mean to hurt you. If you don't believe me, ask Mary. She knows the truth," she said, gesturing toward the door. He turned and saw Mary standing there with a sheepish grin. "Well, well, well, looks like we have an accomplice," he said, his tone softening a little. "Come here, Mary," he said, pulling her into a hug. She hugged him back, then looked at Agnes. "See, Grandma, I told you he wouldn't be angry with you," she said, giggling. Agnes smiled, then turned to the CEO. "Mr. Williams, I know that I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I'll work extra hours to make up for the lost time," she said, her voice trembling. He looked at her for a long moment, then sighed. "All right, Agnes, I forgive you. But promise me you'll never do anything like this again," he said. She nodded tearfully and hugged him. "Thank you, Mr. Williams." "I promise I won't let you down," she whispered. He patted her back, then turned to Mary. "And you, Mary, you have your grandmother's number?" he asked. She nodded. "Of course, Grandpa." "You know I do," she said, giggling. He smiled. "Good, then listen carefully. From now on, both of you will work half days. You'll come in at 9 a.m. sharp and leave at 4 p.m. every day. You'll also take turns watching over me to make sure I don't work too hard. Does that sound fair?" he said with a smile. They both nodded happily. The CEO kept his promise, and from the next day onwards, he made sure to take care of himself. He understood that hard work was important, but so was family. He also realized that he couldn't have been so successful without the support of his employees, and he made sure to treat them well. As for Agnes, she was grateful for the second chance. She loved her boss and would do anything for him. She never forgot the valuable lesson she had learned and made sure to take care of him in the best way possible. After all, family was the most important thing in life. That was all for today. Please stay tuned for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.